Hello and welcome once again to Ignite Your Impact. My name is Jen Rhodes. I am seated next to Mr. Matt Rhodes.
Good morning.
I'm having a hard time forming words today. Blah, 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 blah. My tongue is broken.
Still early in the day. You got plenty of time to work it out.
It's a little early in the day. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous morning in Kansas City. I am going to spend all day outside because I have a feeling fall is coming. And I cannot waste the sunshine. So if you hear of a crazy lady running around Shawnee without any clothes on, that would be me. And I'm happy. So just leave me alone. Okay, so next topic. We're going to get you thinking.
Yeah, today's topic will get you thinking.
Really switching topics here. So I want to talk about something, and I work on this a lot with my clients. I work on this a lot with my friend group because language matters, but also environment matters. It's so key. And there are people that think things are bad because they don't like something. They don't like the outcome of something. There are people that think things are good if they do like something or if they do like the outcome. Why this is so important is because of managing that emotion surrounding outcomes, and your perception of the outcomes can turn into a roller coaster. And what we want to do today is shed some light on how to remain emotionless as things are happening so you can manage that roller coaster. And I want you to think about your last week. Just your last week, start to finish, Sunday through Saturday. How did your last week feel? Were there some ups? Were there some downs? Were there some reactions? Maybe some overreactions? Maybe some underreactions? Did you have things happen that you didn't like that maybe got you a little upset? And if so, did you possibly miss something else? Did you possibly miss the good in it? It's okay. We're going to teach you how to stay above it. And I want to get back to that in just a minute. Once we started working with our mindset coach, specifically with our mindset coach, and I've had a few mentors relay this kind of messaging throughout the years, but he said, to find the Easter eggs. And what he meant is to start seeing things that others don't or won't. Ooh, language matters. See, when you start to see things differently, it opens up a whole new world to you. A world you could have literally been missing out on. And I want to start with a story today to just kind of like lay the groundwork for today's podcast. It's going to be a short one today. It's an old Chinese parable, and you've probably heard this story before. And if you're watching on YouTube, what's up, guys? Yes, I'm going to read this. I do not have it memorized. So once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer that owned a farm with his son. And one day his horse ran away. And that evening, all of the village, all of the neighbors came around to commiserate. And they said, "Oh, we're so sorry to hear your horse has run away. That is most unfortunate." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The very next day, the horse came back, bringing with him 7 wild horses. And in the evening, villagers came back around and said, "Oh, isn't that so lucky? What a great turn of events. You now have 8 horses. And the farmer again said, "Maybe." The following day, his son was trying to break one of the horses. And while riding it, he was thrown from the horse and broke his leg. And the neighbors again came around. These neighbors seem to be hanging around a lot. Don't they have jobs? No. Neighbors came around again and said, "Oh, that's too bad. Your son broke his leg. He's useless." And the farmer responded, "Maybe." The very next day, The army came around. Conscription officers came around to draft people into the army. A major battle was getting ready to take place, and they rejected his son because he had a broken leg. And again, the neighbors, the villagers came around and said, "Isn't that great? Your son doesn't have to go to war. He can stay here." And again, the farmer said, "Maybe."
This exact scenario happens to all of you every single day in one way or another. And some of you miss the maybe, which is what we're going to get into. Let's talk through I love that story, but let's talk through a real...
And it goes on and on. Yeah. Like there's so many, it's a never ending story.
But let's go through a real world example. You ask everyone to think about their last week. And I want to go through one day because it's pretty amazing all the things that lined up and how this thinking outside the box, picking up the Easter eggs, finding the Easter eggs works. So as we've mentioned on the last podcast, we just got back from Miami. So I want to go through what our last day was in Miami, what it looked like. Not every detail, but most of the details of that entire day. And we woke up that morning and then we went and took a walk by the ocean.
You forgot the sex part.
No, I didn't forget about it. I just wasn't going to put that in the story. I said not every detail.
Oh.
So
I just thought you meant you weren't going to talk about what you had for breakfast.
So I'm going to start at the walk by the ocean.
Okay.
I'll forget about the wake up part. So walk by the ocean. And then we went and had this great brunch. And, obviously it's pretty busy on Sunday morning, but we got right in, sitting right outside, right down from the Versace mansion at a place called Good News or Newsies. It was the last place that Versace visited before he was killed. So it was really just a cool experience being able to get in there. And as we're sitting there eating brunch, I get a text from the driver the day before that had driven us to a couple of different places. And he asked if we needed a ride to the airport. And this was a black car service. I didn't really think we needed black car service for the airport, but okay, let's pick us up at noon. We fly out at 2:00. So we finish up, we go back and pack, and he shows up a little bit late. And I think he shows up like at 12:10. So we could be running a little bit behind. But he says, "Hey, you left this in my car yesterday. I want to return this to you." And it was a hat. And it wasn't just a normal baseball hat. It was a pretty expensive hat. And I'm thinking to myself, we just decided just to do the black car service, which cost, I don't know, $15, $20 more. Yet he returned something that costs a lot more. So is that good? Is that bad? Maybe. You don't know. But it was just really interesting how that started off. So again, we're running a little bit late. He pulls into the airport and the curbside is packed, and we always do curbside because it's in and out as quick as we can. But it is packed, and again, we're running a little behind because he showed up a little bit late. And Jen goes, "Well, you think it's busy inside?" So I kind of wander off to the left, and I'm trying to look through the windows, and the sun's out, and I can't really see in there. And I look like lost. Picture a guy just kind of lost at the airport, and this guy standing there says, "Hey, can I help you?" And so I'm trying to decide if it's better to go inside or go back to curbside. We're running a little bit late, and this guy's just standing there, and he does have a Delta uniform on, but he just says, "Show me your license. Where are you flying to? How many bags do you have?" And I obviously said, "Well, I'm flying through Atlanta to Kansas City, and we've got 3 bags between me and my wife." And he says, "All right, I'll be right back." Takes my license and walks off. And I'm like, what is going on? That's the weirdest thing I've seen. I don't know what he's doing.
And you weren't even at curbside. You were like inside the terminal.
Yeah, I was inside the terminal. The guy comes back with all of our stuff, like our bags, our tags for our bags, our boarding passes, everything. So he basically saw me wandering around in this airport and ran and got everything done at curbside and came back to us so we didn't have to wait in a line. And boom, we're off.
Yeah.
It's like, that was weird. I've never had that happen before.
Awesome.
Was that cool? Maybe. So now that we're back on track, because this guy got us through, we decided to go grab a drink at the bar. And this bar, it's mayhem in there. But we sit down, and the bartender immediately takes care of us and just gets us handled. And then we get on the plane, and the The flight attendant takes a liking to us, and so we're having this amazing experience on this plane.
Now, why wouldn't the flight attendant take a liking to us? I am a goddamn delight.
That is true. I'm quiet. You're not as quiet as I am, so they normally don't take a liking to me. They just let me sit
They
there.
love you.
Yeah. So we hit Atlanta, and our connection is in the exact same terminal. If anyone's flown through Atlanta,
That never happens.
it's a big airport. And we only have a 40-minute layover. It's like, how perfect is this? And I'm telling Jen how awesome this flight is. We fly out at 2:00 in the afternoon, so we get to sleep in and do all those nice things we talked about in the morning. And we get to sleep in, and then we don't have to sit in an airport very long, and it's a very short walk. How perfect is this? Life is good. This day has been perfect. Everything is aligned. Then the seemingly roller coaster starts to happen. That roller coaster Jen talked about. We land in Kansas City, and we hear our name called over the loudspeaker from Delta Baggage. And we go in there, and they tell us, hey, your baggage didn't make it on the plane out of Atlanta. So that nice little short layover that I was bragging about that was so awesome, our bags didn't make it. So maybe that wasn't so good. Maybe it wasn't good. Who knows? So without our bags, we head to the car, and we get into the car, and we get a call that our daughter's in the hospital. And she'd been sick all weekend with something, and she'd been staying at our house instead of her new apartment. But she calls and says, hey, I'm at the hospital. I need you to come get me. I've got COVID. And I'm in bad condition. So, and as some of you probably know, she has a medical condition. So having COVID on top of that is not a good thing. So you're thinking, okay, is this bad that our daughter has COVID? I think any person in their right mind would say yes, but I'm literally thinking about the day we just had. How could it change? So I'm saying maybe. I don't know. So we get her home. We get our bags to our house like at 3:00 in the morning. This great day that I've been talking about, and I'm going to wrap this up here in a minute, but this great day that I'm talking about really turned into a shitty one fast. Because isn't that what most people would think? Bags lost, daughter sick in the hospital with COVID. I'm going to say maybe. I tell Jen, and this is the exact quote, but I said, Jen, this day was so perfect. There's no way that it can end with bags being lost and our daughter being sick. So the next day, Jen opens up our bags and realizes that we forgot to put some expensive medication on ice. So even if our bags would have made it on that 40-minute layover, we would have lost that medication. But now they didn't get to us till like 3:00 in the morning. It's a total loss. Delta calls and says, did you get your bags? We did, but we lost some medication. They said, oh, we'll just send in a receipt and we'll pay for it. Huh. So maybe it wasn't such a bad thing that our bags didn't get there. Yeah, we didn't get them till 3:00 in the morning, but now all of a sudden this expensive medication is going to get covered. And I want to transition just a little bit here. Our daughter, I mentioned she has a new apartment, but her friend lives in the apartment complex next to her, and she was having some issues with some air quality. So I had an inspector go inspect our daughter's apartment. Better safe than sorry.
Safety first.
Safety first. He did this on a Friday. Again, we landed on Sunday. We're dealing with our bags on Monday morning. And then on Monday morning, he sent us the results. Wouldn't you know, she's got black mold in her apartment. He called and said, your daughter needs to get out of that apartment right away until this gets fixed. You see, life seems all great 1 minute, and the next thing you think you're getting hit by a truck. Is it good that our daughter got COVID? No. But think back to the story. Maybe it got her out of that apartment.
Yeah. It was, and Callie even said it. She goes, man, what a blessing that I got sick and was able to stay here and not go back to that apartment with everything that's going on in her body and then introduce black mold. Like, what a blessing.
But most people wouldn't see it that way. And so I don't always see it that way either. I can't always control my emotions, but I just looked at how perfect that day was. I was like, this is a sign this stuff is happening for a reason. Control your emotions and things will work out.
Start the day with sex.
Yes, that too.
But are you missing the good in everything? Are you reacting at one section and letting it dictate your lens for the rest of the day. And I told you we'd get back to this because we are talking about going from average to great. We are going for elite in every area of your life. You cannot go for elite if you cannot control your internal representation of your emotions. I want to say that again. You cannot go for elite in every area of your life if you cannot control your internal representation or your emotions. See, when you take each incident or area of your life and think, this could be good. What can I learn here? What am I missing? You start to find the Easter eggs. So let's talk tactics, because you know how tactical I like. Like, okay, great. Love the big picture. Give me real tools, Jen. But it's true. It can be challenging to remain in a good frame when things feel out of control. When everything was going so wackadoodle, even when our daughter's condition was first being diagnosed. Jen, how are you staying in such a good mood? Like, what are you talking about? I have air in my lungs. I have sun on my face. Don't miss the good. But I want to give you how I actually start to handle myself in this. And it all centers around my breath. And I don't know if you're around me or if you've listened to us for a while or even just watching us on YouTube. Every once in a while, I will and it's so funny because you and I both started this in COVID when we both had to start working from home together. You didn't realize I did it to control my frame. You took it as, what's wrong? Oh. And so now we just joke. If either of us do it, we just look, just an exhale. Like, that's right.
Yep.
Just an exhale. What that does, a few deep, slow exhales through your mouth, trying to blow out that candle, will begin to regulate your parasympathetic nervous system. What is the parasympathetic nervous system? Oh, shit, you knew I'd go into science. It controls your fight or flight. So if things feel out of control, I want you to start with 3 deep, slow breaths. Slow your heart rate down. What that's going to do is help your visual go to periphery, to where you can see things almost full circle. And I want you to observe. If you can remain still, emotionless, with that breath, what can you observe? One extra tool that I use, I imagine I'm floating above a situation. If things feel really chaotic around me, well, what if I was just watching it from above and not experiencing it live? What if I was just watching it? What can I observe? What am I missing? Right? It's like one of those 3D drawings. Do you remember those 3D drawings from the 90s?
Yep.
I hated those damn things. I hated those damn things until I learned how to adjust my sight and my breath. Because when you can scope out, boom, there it is. Found it. Or where's Waldo? That's what we're looking for. We're trying to find Waldo. Waldo's the good. But can you remain emotionless while these events unfold?
So why is this so important? Why are we taking a whole podcast to talk about this? This is so important. It is a cheat code, what we're talking about right now. This is how you win your day. You've heard me say win your day. I always try and win that day. This is how you win your week. This is how you win relationships. This is how you win the fitness game. This is how you win the finances game, the business game, and every other game. You be so in charge of your state that no matter what that other person says or that other event happens, It cannot change your state. The person that controls their internal representation, their emotion, wins every time. People follow a person who can remain calm during chaos. Be in charge of your state. Be in charge of your world. And then you're in charge of your outcome.
I love that. Guys, we're going to wrap up. I hope this brought you scope. I hope this brought you just some real easy tactics that you can employ. You missed the parenting game. You win the parenting game when you can use this. And I didn't want to interrupt because you were going to flow.
No, but you said that right. I hope everyone understands that even though this topic seems very control your emotions, I just don't think I think they now understand how important this is.
I love that you said it's a cheat code.
Because it is a cheat code.
It's a total cheat code.
For every area of your life.
Yeah. And I think Bruce Lee said, be like water. Like, how can you just remain fluid? So guys, I hope this helps you. I hope you share this with somebody that would find value in it. Like us, tag us in your Instagram stories. Give us a 5-star review. That's the only way this podcast grows. And with that, next time, we'll talk soon.